Okay. Parshas Tetzaveh on page 464. Okay. So I want to start with a point in the middle of the Parsha, and then we're going to go back to the beginning tomorrow. Hashem. There's something very important I want to go through here today. If you take a look on 464 on Pasuk Aleph, it's 5 lines in. So the Torah says, "Ve'ata hakre v'leches Aaron achicha ve'ezbano v'ito mitoch b'nei Yisrael l'chano li." I want you to draw Aaron and his sons to make them kohanim. Aaron Nadav Avihu Elaz ve'Isamar b'nei Aaron. Okay, you're going to make them kohanim. Now, what's going to happen? Ve'asisa bigdei kodesh l'Aaron achicha. You should make holy garments for Aaron. L'chavod u'l'sifaris. You should make holy garments for Aaron and his brother. For honor and for glory, I guess that's how you would translate it. Then he tells us there's going to be the skilled craftsman. Then look at the bottom pasuk. Ve'ela begadim asher yasu. These are the garments choshen ve'efod u'me'iluk sonas tashbeitz ve'sefetz havneit ve'elsu bigdei kosher anachicha levav v'chanoli. Okay, these are the begadim they're going to make. Now, the first thing is when it comes to clothing. Clothing is an interesting thing, because the word, how do you say a garment in Hebrew? Beged, okay, and it's also called a levush, right? Levush means a garment. Also, we find that words are used interchangeably. Beged, levush. Now, the word beged is related to the Hebrew word boged, which is a traitor. What's one got to do with the other? Beged and boged, a garment and a traitor. What's it got to do with it? Not only that, I'll give you a hint. Levush comes from the Hebrew word busha, which is shame. Right? Garments cover up our shame. Right? It covers up. So what's the connection? Anybody what's the connection?
Because after Adam, when
correct,
he sinned,
correct,
they had the shame of them being naked.
Correct, and he was the first traitor in history. Yeah. Right? They were traitors. They were very good. Yehuda. Very good. In other words, the inception of a garments, when did garments come around? Garments came around when Adam Rishon sinned. They were without clothing, and there was no sense of shame whatsoever. There was no sense of shame. It's something that boggles the mind. So then, after they got the Yetzer Hara, however it worked over there, whatever it is, then the realization that there should be a certain amount of shame attached to this, and there is a certain amount of shame. And therefore, that's where clothing came from. And because he was the first, I don't know, the word traitor is a strong word, but he rebelled. He rebelled against God because God said don't, and he did. So that's a traitor. It's a boged. An unfaithful husband is called a boged nowadays. Unfaithful. What do you call it in what's it called when somebody spies on their country? Somebody reveals state secrets. A traitor. There's a stronger word for it. Treason. He's called a boged. When somebody commits treason, he's called a boged. A boged means you've gone against the instruction, you've gone against your government. Okay. So Adam Rishon and Chava get the clothing. Now, you know what it'd be comparable to nowadays? It'd be comparable. Imagine there's a king and he sentences somebody to death. And they're nice, right? Yeah, get some job satisfaction, right? Yeah, give the executioner, give him something to do. So imagine the king, they sentence somebody to death. So they put him on the gallows. And they put a big, thick rope around his neck. They put the noose around his neck, and they tighten the noose. And at the last minute, the king says, I'm giving him a reprieve. But in order for him to remember what he's done, I don't want him to get off. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to put him in prison. But one thing I want him to cut the noose. I want him to wear that noose all the time. So just as a reminder what he deserves. So the guy walks around with the noose. He's walking around with a big, heavy, thick rope noose around his neck. Then one day the guy says, you know what, this thing's a little uncomfortable, gets a little scratchy on the neck over here. So he takes, and then he replaces it with a kind of a finer rope. Then the next day, a couple weeks later, he decides, why this? Let's make a fabric out of it. Next thing you know, he's wearing a tie. All right, and there they go. So the lesson is what we take pride in our clothing. Some people wear this, they're wear the other. We take pride in our clothing. Clothing's a reminder where we should be ashamed of ourselves. That's what clothing really is. Wow, what if you wear some fancy threads over there? The fancier the fancy threads, you're supposed to be thinking to yourself, we really should be running around naked. That's how we should be running around. That's how we're supposed to be living. That's the ideal state. And the only reason we're not is because we sinned. So we're wearing this is a reminder of our shame. It's a reminder of our shame. Sometimes people put an awful lot into their what do you call it, the Italian suits, what's it called, Gucci or Ucci, whatever it's called. A Gucci, is it Gucci? Yeah. A Gucci suit, and you got GQ with all the styles and all the, what do you call it? And the women wear stuff that some French guy decided is what women should be wearing, and the less they wear, the more impressive it is, So now they lost their sense of shame altogether. The what do you call it? The shorter it is, the more it costs. It's really you cut some fabric, you save some money. At the end of the day, the clothing is a reminder. Under normal circumstances, a certain sense of shame. Look what happens over here. Here it's going to be the opposite. You're going to wear garments, big day kodesh around your brother, for honor and for glory. These sets of clothing are different than all other clothing. All other clothing is a reminder of the shame. Here, to the contrary, he stands out. They are the Kohanim. He's the Kohen Gadol, and it's for a sense of beauty and kavod and tifaris, honor and how does Article translate it? Honor and what? Sanctifying the minister there for glory and splendor. Glory and splendor. Okay. Now, I want you to realize something. We are very much affected by our environment. Whether we like to admit it or not, we are. We are very much affected by our environment. When you go shopping, and you go into shopping, in any supermarket, they're always playing music. You ever notice that? Like happy, let's spend your money music, right? And what kind of music is it? It's music that gets you to spend money. It's music that's going to actually get you to spend more money. You notice that it's never rap. Never rap, because then they'll have smashed Coke bottles all over the place. People. It's never rap. You'll have people trashing the shelves. Right? It's never something too fast. It's never something depressing. It's always just kind of like this happy, like let's buy 3 type of music, sort of thing, and you're just loading your cart. So why is it? Because we're affected. Our ears are affected by it. Not only that, we're even affected by smells. This I didn't know till several years ago, that in supermarkets they actually pump in smells. Did you know that?
Yeah. They
pump in smells, and they probably got somebody watching you. They go, okay, we got his reel in aisle 3. It's in the chocolate aisle. Okay, heavy on the chocolate now, Jack. And they're pumping in chocolate, and Israel's cleaning the Hershey bars off the shelf all of a sudden because they got you. They're saying it's really not fair. Frankly, it's not fair. But they got you, and because we're affected by our environment. The colors, the sights, the sounds, the smells. I think in Las Vegas, never been there. I've never been in a casino, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't like to be in a casino. I've never been in a casino because I know that I would win if I would go. And what do you call it? Hold me back, boys. Just hold me back. Somebody hold me back. I like to get at a roulette wheel, boy. Oh, would I like to get at a roulette wheel? Oh, would they like to get me at a roulette wheel? Oh, was I a horrible card player when I was growing up? Boy, I always got clean. So the what do you call it? In Las Vegas, there are no clocks. No clocks. No windows. Right? No windows. I don't know what free booze. Right? There's booze, cigarettes, whatever you need to keep you stimulated and to stop you from getting bored and looking at the clock, and whatever you need to keep you pumped up to throw. And they use cash, use chips. There's a reason they use chips. Because it's a lot harder to throw dollars than it is to throw a chip. Right? Okay, it's $20, big deal. You throw down a chip. And it's all in the whole environment. You walk into a discotheque and they're thumping music, which gets you to behave like a caveman. And all the other what do you call it? All the other stimulations. So you walk into, what were you going to say?
No, it's
true or not, but I think even the air conditioner has like a type of chemical to relax you when you're
in the gambling, I think it's something they pump in more oxygen or something to get you what do you call it? It's a remarkable thing how we're infected by our environment. And not only that, you're affected by people's uniforms. And I can prove it to you. Walk into any optometry shop. The lady behind the counter is wearing a lab coat. Now she's hired, she's probably maybe making minimum wage, right? But if she tells you, oh, these are good frames, well, she's wearing a lab coat, so I guess she must know what she's talking about. And that's how we respond. In Chicago, there was a grocery store in Chicago when I was growing up. It was a non-kosher grocery store. They had a kosher section, and that was the only place you could get Chalav Yisrael in Chicago. They had to ship it. When I was growing up, they didn't have Chalav Yisrael in Chicago. Now they got it all over the place. They had to ship it in from New York. And those who drank Chalav Yisrael, if you wanted, you had to go to this place called the Milk Pail, and you ask them for the kosher milk. Right? And they would give you all the milk was kosher, but they gave the kosher milk was the Chalav Yisrael, and they would give you. Now he hired kids. He had these public school kids working for him behind the counter. And you had to ask them. A lot of this stuff was behind the counter. You had to ask them to give you item by item in the store. These kids all wore a white shirt and a tie. These are American public school 17-year-olds. So they probably smoked 2 joints before they came to work. But they're wearing a what do you call a white shirt and a tie. And if you look and an apron, and you look over the counter, the part behind the apron is blue jeans and gym shoes. But what you saw was a white shirt and collar. And what happens is the way you're dressing affects you. When you put on a tie, when you're dressed smart, you behave smart. That's part of the idea of Shabbos. You go into a frum home on Shabbos. Everybody is dressed smart. Even the little kids are. You got little 4-year-olds are wearing dresses, and you got a little 6-year-old boy who's wearing a suit and a tie, which lasts that way for about 17 minutes. Right? After a while, he's going to look like Tarzan. But while he's at the table, there's it creates a certain environment in the home. You walk into the Beis Hamikdash, what are you going to see? You're going to see, number one, Kohanim in uniform. That has an effect on the person who's coming into the Beis Hamikdash to get an atonement. That's a sobering effect on you. You smell the ketoras. The incense that was burnt in the Beis Hamikdash. The Sfarim say, ketoras, the smell of the ketoras could inspire a person to do tshuva. Just the smell of the ketoras. And the Leviim were singing in the Beis Hamikdash. The sound of the Leviim could inspire a person to do tshuva. So all of your senses, when you walk into the Beis Hamikdash, your sight, hearing, smell, everything is affected when you're in the Beis Hamikdash. You're seeing the Kohanim, and the Kohanim look very impressive, and it was a serious place. So the first thing the Torah says is the kavod u'sifaris, because the way you dress is often the way you feel. I always tell guys, if you're ever studying for a test, don't wear a tank top, shorts, and gym shoes if you're studying for a test. Because all that happens, you hear some guy bouncing a ball down the hall, you're up and out. Right? Yeah. Wear the heaviest army boots you could find. Put on a suit, a button-down shirt. And that's how you study for a test, because then you're going to be very, very study in a much more study mode. That's the first thing the Torah tells you, and it's very true. We are very much affected by our environment, number one. Number two, there's an interesting Gemara here that I want to show you. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. I think we spoke about part of it last time. On the pasuk over here, this last pasuk says, "Ve'ela habegodim asher yasu." These are the garments they should make. Okay, so the Gemara says, we were learning this last time. The Gemara says that there was it's a Gemara in Shabbos on Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. Everybody wants to look it up later. Okay, so the Gemara says there was a non-Jew who came to Shammai, and he said, how many Torahs do you have? He said, I have 2 Torahs, Shebiksav, the Torah Sheba'al Peh. So he said, the Torah Shebiksav, I believe you, Torah Sheba'al Peh, I don't believe you. Convert me on condition that you teach me the written Torah. Remember we spoke about this last time? Okay. So, Gar bo ve'otzil ben Nesifa. Shammai kind of growled at him, and he sent him out. He scowled he yelled at him, or he snapped at him, and he sent him away. So the guy came to Hillel, and he converted him. And the first day he taught him Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet. The next day he turned it around. He said Gimel Dalet. The guy said to him, but yesterday you didn't teach me that. He said, don't you rely on me? You relied on me yesterday, so you could also rely on the fact that there's Torah Shabbat Peh. Now, this we spoke about last time, right? About the idea that everything has an oral Torah with it. There's got to be an oral Torah. Okay. Then there was a second guy. So the second guy says to Shammai, convert me on condition that you teach me the entire Torah while I stand on one foot. You've just been insulted. And we used to say to, when we were younger, we'd say, hey, I got a couple of minutes, tell me everything you know. And can you imagine going to the Pope, lahavdil, you go to the Pope, and you say, hey, teach me your whole religion, I got a few minutes. Teach me your whole religion. You understand, it's an insult. So the guy comes to Shammai and says, teach me a whole Torah while I stand on one foot. So Shammai pushed him out. Shammai had a builder's, what's it called, a level? The thing that we check, I think it's called a level, right? He pushed him out with the builder's level. There's all sorts of depth why specifically that instrument. And the guy came to Hillel, and again, Hillel converted him, and he said to him one thing, De aloch sani lechavri lo savid. What's hateful to you, don't do to other people. Zohi kol ha-Torah kula, it's the whole Torah. V'idach pirusha, the rest is commentary. Zil Gemara, go learn. So that's the whole Torah. Don't do to others what is hateful to you. De aloch sani lechavri lo savid. So here you have a foundational principle in Torah. First of all, there's an obvious question here. What's the obvious problem with that statement?
It's negative. It's in the negative.
In the negative, right? You notice he doesn't say do unto others as you would have others do unto you. He says what is hateful to you, don't do to other people. Number one. Number two. What else is there? There's another question here. Another question. Oh, what happened to good? In other words, very good, Israel. In other words, he's telling him about bein adam lachavero, telling him about man-to-man relationships. What happened to the man-to-God relationships? What happened to man to God? Okay, that's what Hillel. And Hillel says what's hateful to you. First of all, what's hateful to you, don't do. Listen to the wording. The wording is very fascinating wording. What's hateful to you, don't do to other people. And what if it's not hateful to you? Then I could do it to you. Well, what's hateful? Then
It's hateful to me, not hateful to you.
Hillel said, what's hateful to you, don't do it to other people.
Yeah.
What bothers you, don't do to other people. And if it doesn't bother me, or if I could do it to you, even though it bothers you?
No.
Why?
Because you cannot do something like that bothers other people because you don't want to be bothered yourself.
Oh, in other words, that's a given. Of course I can't do things that are going to bother you, even if it doesn't bother me. The trick is that when there's something that bothers me, what's hateful to me, meaning that when somebody else, everybody's got things that bother them. Does knuckle cracking bother you? Does it bother you to hear people that crack their knuckles? There's some people it does. Some people are very bothered by knuckle cracking. How about gum snapping? When women chew their gum and it drives me nuts. Especially since I've tried doing it, I can never get it. That's what really bothered me about it. That's, I think deep down that's what it is. But it drives me nuts. Okay, now, let's say I'm not bothered by knuckle cracking, but you are. So then I shouldn't do it. Why? Because there are certain things I'm bothered by that you may not be bothered by. So what's bothersome to you, don't do to other people. In other words, realize that everybody's got their shagin lach in life. Now, there's only one. We got to make a disclaimer over here. You see, people often ask, let's see, you have a little bit of a conflict. Who should give in? Who should give in a conflict? Right? Who should give in? Okay, what's that? Well, that's for sure. I'm talking about when people aren't married. I'll tell you, somebody said, if you're wrong and you give in, well, you should. If you're wrong, you should give in. If you're right and you give in, you're married. Think about it, Alex. There's a lot of wisdom to that, by the way. There's a tremendous amount of wisdom to that. Right? Sometimes you're right and you still got to give in. You still got to give it. Now, I'm not talking about married people. I'm talking about ordinary mortals. Okay? So two guys are sitting in a room. One guy's cracking his knuckles, and the other guy says, "Can you please cut that out? Maybe you should be more tolerant." How do you make the judgment? How do you make a judgment in that case? One guy, two roommates. One guy's always throwing his clothing on the floor. The other guy said, "Do you mind not throwing your clothing on the floor? Or do you mind not listening to loud music when I'm trying to sleep?" Well, maybe you should enjoy music more. In that way, how do you make the judgment over here? How's it? What's the say? What do you say, Alan?
When you get the message out and they still continue to do it.
Fine. Okay. But where's the end? Where that's endless. You got the message out. So then you don't like the way I breathe. I breathe too loud. You don't like the way I chew. Where's the standard for this? What do you say?
It's when your action imposes itself on someone else.
But that's a judgment. Yeah, I claim that you throwing clothing on the floor is imposing on me. You say it's not imposing on me.
Articulated there as their feelings.
They've articulated. You can use any fancy word you want, but the bottom line is that I've articulated my feelings that this shouldn't bother you. Don't let it bother you. What do you say, Chaim?
Both Sadim have got to work on their issues.
Okay, everybody's got to work on themselves, of course. I think the standard is, if we took a look, maybe we could get some air in here, just a little bit of air. Open that door. Maybe if I could try to open the door over there, just to get some, a little bit of air. I'm just so far. I don't even know what the Yiddish word is. How I feel. There's got to be some Yiddish word to describe it.
Amen.
What's the word?
Shlech.
Shlech. That's the word. I feel shlech. That's what I say. You always feel hot, cold. Don't worry. I'll ask you to close it in a second. What's with the ski cap? So bad? It's really cold, huh? Yeah, I don't blame you. What do you call it? So I think the standard is like this. Ask. There is something like objectively. Should somebody be bothered by loud? Are most people bothered by loud music? Objectively, that's a reasonable. It's a reasonable objection that you're playing loud music and it's bad. It's reasonable. What if two guys are sitting in a room, and I'm sitting in a room and I'm reading and you're reading, and every few minutes I do like this, and you say, "Could you please stop adjusting your glasses? It's bothering me." I got news for you. There are other planets. Right? And you're going to have to go live on one, because I'm going to adjust my glasses whenever I want. You understand? Most people would say that's ridiculous. Most people would say that's a ridiculous thing to be upset about. So you have to know where that line is. Number one. Number two, how does this get to be? Let's go back to Israel's question. What happened to Hashem over here? Where's Hashem in the picture? You're telling me the whole Torah is Bein Adam L'Chavero. The answer is no. What Hillel is saying to him is, what is required in Bein Adam L'Chavero? It means not focusing on myself, thinking about other people. It's not only about me, it's about other people. Whenever a person, all of our service of Hashem, whether it's Bein Adam L'Chavero, whether it's horizontal or vertical, it still always involves that same trait of focusing outwards, not inwards. That's what Hillel is telling him. Hillel is telling him, if you develop a character where you're thinking about other people, so then it's going to focus upwards also. That means you're not thinking about yourself. So if I'm told I have to put up a mezuzah, I'll put up a mezuzah. It's inconvenience and it costs money, but that's only because you're thinking about yourself. But if you developed the ability and you've developed the habit more than anything else of not focusing on yourself so much, thinking about other people, so then you're thinking outwards. It's outward thinking. So Hillel comes to him and he says to him, now, number three, we see a lesson here in general if you've ever tried to influence other people in Yiddishkeit. You have relatives, friends, people you like to influence. Let's say they tell you, one day your friend says to you, "Hey Alan, tell me what's Torah all about?" So you start telling them, we have to push a goat off a cliff on Yom Kippur. No, cut. I wouldn't start right there. Or, we have to annihilate Amalek. And I'm not so sure. You're not allowed to pull cucumbers out of your salad on Shabbos if you don't want them. That's how I would start with, you're not allowed to talk bad about other people. You have to be respectful to your parents. You have to be kind to animals. I would talk about human traits, because that's what appeals to people more. That people relate to that. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Frum Jews cared about other people. I thought all Frum Jews was protest in the streets and throw stones. I thought that's what Frum Jews do. And they chant Tehillim all day. That's what I thought. Or as a secular in Israel said, they bark Tehillim all day. If you're trying to want to invite people into Yiddishkeit, talk to them about Bein Adam L'Chavero, because they think that, no, they've got the Bein Adam L'Chavero. All we're doing is we're worshiping, we're doing this all day with Hashem. Right? They don't realize what goes on. And by the way, just if you open up any directory telephone directory in Israel, in any frum neighborhood, each neighborhood has their own individual telephone directory. You will find, I know in my neighborhood, the Yaakov, where you guys were, there are probably about 20 pages in the phone directory listing various funds, various chesed organizations in that one frum neighborhood alone. If you need to borrow money, who you call. If you need a crib for your baby because you just had a baby, who you call. If you need meals for a woman who just gave birth, what number to call. If you need medicine in the middle of the night, who to call. There are all sorts. It's called a gemach, a free loan fund. But there are free loan funds that lend out all sorts of stuff. And this is all bein adam lachaveru among the religious people. They even have an electric tweezers gemach. You never know when you're going to need. You never know when you get electric toenail clippers. You never know when you're going to need one of those in a pinch, right? And you could call somebody up. They got an electric toenail. They have. You could call somebody up. Somebody has a son. They make a shalom zachar. What do you guys call it? A brit yitzchak? Yeah. A brit yitzchak. By Ashkenazim they call it a shalom zachar. So what do they serve? What traditionally is served at a shalom zachar? What's the traditional food for shalom zachar? Chickpeas. Chickpeas, arbis, what you call arbis, chickpeas. They serve chickpeas at a shalom zachar. That's a tradition. Why they do that? There's a number you could call. They have chickpeas for America. You don't always know when a woman's going to. What if she gives birth late Friday afternoon? Got an emergency shalom zachar to make. You know how you're going to get the chickpeas? You can call a number. They got chickpeas in the freezer for you. So you just got to throw them and cook them. They got all. This is all in the religious neighborhoods. Number 2, number 3. In Israel, there are medical relief organizations here. There's Hatzalah, there's Chesed Shalemes. All of these organizations are started and run by frum Torah Jews. How do you like that? How do you like that? So we've got plenty of Bein Adam Lachaveru bias. Okay, this is all an introduction. Shuv Ma'isa B'Nochri Echrad, Shehaya Over Acharei Beis HaMedrash. There was a non-Jew who was passing behind the shul, a Beis Medrash. By the way, what do we call, there's a pasuk that says, Ki beisi beis tefillah yikore, my house will be called a house of prayer, Ki beisi beis tefillah yikore, l'chol ha'amim, for all the nations. The Beis HaMikdash will be called a beis tefillah. Do you know a non-Jew could bring offerings to the Beis HaMikdash also? Ki beisi beis tefillah yikore, my house will be called a house of prayer by all the nations. What do we call our house of prayer, gentlemen? Beit Knesset? Why is it? What does Beit Knesset mean? Beit Knesset means a house of gathering. Should be called a house of tefillah. Why don't we call the shul? Where are you davening? Instead of saying, what shul do you daven at? Shul comes from the German word school, by the way. What Beit Knesset in modern Hebrew? What Beit Knesset? You say, what Beit Tefillah do you daven at? Why do we call it Beit Knesset?
We don't only pray. We don't only pray in the Beit Knesset. We learn also.
You learn in a base, you gather in a shul. What is the idea of gathering in a shul? Gathering in a shul means, we daven. But we also look around in the shul to see who could use a loan, and who needs somebody to visit him because he's sick, and who needs somebody to help him out because they're lonely, and who needs it's a Beit Knesset, it's a gathering place. That means the Bein Adam L'Chavera, Bein Adam L'Makom are inexorably linked to each other. It's not two separate Judaisms. I'm a God-focused guy. I'll let everybody take care of people. It doesn't work that way. We are focused outwards, and you're focused outwards, it focuses in all directions. Okay, now I want you to read this pasuk again. Okay, etc. Comes along the Gemara. The Gemara mentions the third guy. There's a guy, a non-Jew, passing behind a Beis Medrash somewhere. V'shama kol sofer, he heard a teacher. Shehaya Omer, there's a teacher apparently teaching Chumash, and he was teaching this pasuk. He said, Ve'ela begodim asher yasu choshen ve'ephod, etc. Omar, so this non-Jew said, Halalu lemi, who gets to wear these? These are very, very elaborate, fancy, very, very glamorous garments that the Kohen Gadol wore. So the guy said, who gets to wear these? Amrulo l'kohen gadol. The Kohen Gadol gets to wear these clothing. The guy says, wow. Omar oso nochri ba'atzos. The guy said to himself, Eilech ve'ezgayer, I think I'm going to convert, bishvil sheyasimuni Kohen Gadol, that they should appoint me Kohen Gadol. It's a good motivation. Nothing like a little motivation in life.
You cannot become Kohen Gadol.
Oh, technical problem. But he didn't know that. Balif they Shammai, so he comes to Shammai, Amar le Gaireni, I want you to convert me Almanah Shetisimeni Kohen Gadol. I mean, can you imagine the look on Shammai's face at this point? Guy comes, I want you to convert me, but make me the Kohen Gadol. Oh, Kohen Gadol, huh? Oh, no less. Kohen Gadol, huh? I see. Kohen Gadol. Dachav Obama Sabinich pushed him out with the lever again, with the level. Wise guy. Balifnei Hillel Gaire. So Hillel converted him. Uh-oh. But what about the condition? He said, well, you were learning in Gemara about you made a t'nai, and the t'nai, you fulfilled the t'nai. No, what are you going to? Hillel's got a problem, doesn't he? Said to the guy, listen, we only make a king if a guy knows all the rules of being a king, all the etiquette of being a king. Go learn the etiquette of being a king. So the guy learns, he didn't know the difference. He got king and a Kohen Gadol. So the guy reads the pasuk, and he starts reading about the Kohen Gadol's position, and he reads a pasuk that says, "Vehazor hakorev yumas." A non-Kohen who approaches, who enters this area, dies. So the guy goes, whoa. Oh, Amar Le, they said to Hillel, Mikrezel, Minar, who is this pasuk referring to? So Hillel said to him, Afilu al Dovid Melech Yisrael. Even the king can't enter where the Kohen Gadol enters, or he dies, right? So the guy, you can tell he's Jewish because he already started fetching at the thumb, right? Within one day, he's already, say, a kal v'chomer. Nasa osa ger kal v'chomer. So ger said, I got a kal v'chomer. Uma Yisrael shenikru banim lamokim. If Yisrael are Hashem's children, and out of Hashem's love, he calls them b'ni b'chor Yisrael. Yet it says about them that a non-Kohen who approaches dies. So a convert, a simple convert, boy, am I in trouble. Okay, so he dropped his demands to be the Kohen Gadol. Okay, that's what the Gemara says. So these garments over here, what's the Gemara teaching over here? Now, this is the bigger issue, and this is what I want to straighten out. What picture from this Gemara emerges of Shammai? You're picturing Shammai now, right? How do you picture Shammai?
Mike Tyson.
Nah, we wouldn't go that far.
Angry conservative rabbi.
What?
Angry conservative rabbi.
An angry conservative rabbi. I don't know that. And you get an image of Shammai as a kind of a, kind of the strict, stern headmaster, as you would call it in England, right? Kind of a, that's a chas v'shalom. Do you know there's a statement in Pirkei Avos that says, "Have a mekabel es kol ha'adam b'sever panim yofet." You got to greet everybody with a friendly countenance. Who said that in Pirkei Avos? Shammai. Shammai said that. Now, Pirkei Avos has been around with us for about 2,000 years. In Pirkei Avos, it's ethics. Musar, ethics, ethical behavior. Ethical behavior is only accepted by somebody who behaves ethically. Could you imagine Shammai? If Shammai is what we picture him, could you imagine Shammai coming into Shir like this? Greet everybody with a favorable countenance. Sorry, guys, that wouldn't have made it. I guarantee you Shammai was pleasant, sweet, and you have to greet everybody with a pleasant. And when the guy came in and asked to be Kohen Gadol, he said, get out. With a big smile. Pleasantly chased him out. That was it. Shammai was it. And not only that, we know in halacha, who's more machmir in halacha? Shammai. Ooh, so you get this idea. Shammai. Ooh. No.
What does it mean, machmir?
Stringent. Shammai stringent. So you get that. He's stringent. He's chasing people out with blunt objects. You get an idea over chas v'shalom. Shammai is the one who said, "Have a Kabbalah is called b'sever panim yafos." So what happened over here? What's really going on here? The answer is, and we find this another example of this somewhere else that I'll show you in a second. The answer is, Hillel and Shammai have a fundamental dispute. What do you do, and to how much do you tolerate when Torah is being insulted? How much of it? In other words, like Shammai and Hillel had a machlokas on many other things. They have machlokases, dozens, if not hundreds of machlokases. There's a machlokas over here, a fundamental machlokas. How much should you bend over backwards when Torah? I mean, a guy comes in and says, "Teach me the Torah. I believe you that there's one Torah, not two Torahs. Convert me." I mean, who asked you? Who needs you, buddy? Another guy, teach me the entire Torah. I stand on one foot. What kind of chutzpah is that? There's a chutzpah there. And then a guy comes in, convert me that I should become the Kohen Gadol. Okay, so maybe an innocence, but even a guy in innocence should realize it's not like, okay, I want to go to, I'm going to go to medical school as long as I become a brain surgeon in my first year. What is that? What kind of business is that? Well, I'll join your. You come in. Can you imagine going to applying for a job? You're a kid out of law school. He says, "Yeah, I'd like the job. I'd like to be a partner in the firm." And they wouldn't even let you sit there. They'd throw you out. What is this? There's a machlokas between Hillel and Shammai. How far do you bend for the honor of Torah? There's another case we find this. In other words, Shammai, it has nothing to do with personality. That's the point. These people, it has nothing to do with personalities. It's not like, he was a nicer guy than him. Chas v'shalom. We don't know who is a nicer guy. We know an approach to Torah. There's an approach. Is this what you do? Is this where do you draw that line? Say, machlokas, where do you draw the line? There's another case. Remember we spoke about that case? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was giving a shir. And some guy came into the shir, he'd eaten garlic before he ate the shir. Remember the Gemara in Sanhedrin on Daf Yud. Some guy had eaten garlic. And it was so bad, apparently. Apparently he'd eaten so much garlic. He had a heavy shawarma that day. And apparently the smell was so bad, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi could not continue to shir. So he said, whoever ate the garlic, please leave. So Rabbi Chia realized that if the garlic eater gets up and walks out, it's like turning to somebody and say, by the way, you smell bad. Could you please leave? There's nothing worse in life than smelling bad. And it's embarrassing. So Rabbi Chia realized that if this guy walks out, he's going to be embarrassed. So what did Rabbi Chia do? He got up and walked out, taking the blame. When everybody else realized what Rabbi Chia was doing, they all got up and they walked out also. Because they understood what Rabbi Chia was doing. They knew Rabbi Chia hadn't eaten the... Excuse me, I guess Rabbi Chia walked out and there was still a smell or something. Everybody realized what he was doing. But Rabbi Chia's first reaction was, I can't allow this guy to be embarrassed. He got up and he walked out. So the next day, Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi, he confronted Rabbi Chia and said, you read my father's shir yesterday. You walked out, everybody walked out. Rabbi Chia said, Chas v'shalom, there couldn't be a situation where the different opinions, what he was responding. One opinion is, Chas v'shalom, I couldn't let a guy be embarrassed of this. Everybody asks, what's the obvious question here, gentlemen?
But he embarrassed the teacher.
Yeah, so thinking that as well.
What's the Rabbi Chia said I can't let such a thing happen. What's the obvious question?
How could the other rabbi let it
How could Rabbi Yehuda Nasi let it happen? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was the one who actively was trying to embarrass him. Yehuda, you're on a roll today, baby. You're on a roll. You scintillate today. What happened that maybe it was a Shabbos? What happens? What do you call? How could Rabbi Yehuda Nasi go tell the guy, get out, you smell? So you know what the commentaries explain over there? The same thing. I'm giving a shir right now. You're ruining a Torah shir for the public. You didn't know not to eat garlic before you came into the shir? What's wrong with you? I'm not embarrassing you. You're embarrassing yourself. What did you eat garlic for? Rabbi Chia was saying, you're right, but no. You're right. He shouldn't have, but he's still going to be embarrassed. What weighs more? What weighs more right now? And that's a machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and Rabbi Chia. It's a machlokas l'shem shemayim. You know what happens in shul? Do you ever see a guy who's reading the Torah, he gets corrected?
Yeah.
I always contend that they should have teams in shul. They should divide the shul into two teams. It'll get everybody paying attention to the Torah reading. Right? Okay, we got 4-2 on corrections. Every time somebody gets a grade, they hold up a thing. They say, point this way. And have a final score. Teams in shul. I'm telling everybody, boy, will this guy? He'll practice the laning first, and then everybody will be just looking like this. Let's see if we can nail the guy. And if it's a false correction, you lose a point. We have to make rules over here how this works exactly. And if you nail him, if you nail him on grammar, if he skipped a word, it's a 5-point bonus, something like that. We'll make teams, right? Now, I don't understand. How could you correct the guy? You're embarrassing him in public.
Torah. Respect to the Torah.
Respect for the Torah. Number one is respect for the Torah. Number two, the guy knows that he's got a job right now. His job right now is to read the Torah to help everybody fulfill the mitzvah. Going up there that you're a target. Any of you read the Torah? Any of you know how to lane? Hardest thing in the world. Bar mitzvah parsha. I didn't even do that. My brother, I remember my father, I was a little kid, I was 10 years old. My brother was right before his bar mitzvah. My father said to my brother, what do you want to do for your bar mitzvah? I remember walking to shul, he says, what do you want to do? He thought about what you want to do for your bar mitzvah. So my brother, who was like one of these tzaddikim, he goes, yeah, I want to read the whole Parsha. So they started talking about which Parsha it's going to be. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, what about the celebration? What are you talking about the Parsha for? So I read to Shani. I read the first Aliyah till Shani. That was it. That was enough for me. And every year when we get to that Parsha in Shul, so if nobody can read it, so I'll get up there and read it. People are just so impressed. Wow, he knows how to read the Torah. Wow, I know one Aliyah that I can do in Shul. That's about it. One time I was in a small town in America. There's a shul. Most of the people weren't even observant. They didn't have it. I was sitting in the shul, so I look from. So they asked me if I could read from the Torah. I basically, I knew to pronounce the words correctly. I didn't know the trup. I made up the trup as I went along. They came over to because I knew more or less. But I knew how to write. The most important thing is getting the words. The trup isn't makir. And then one of the guys that comes to my father, it was my father-in-law's shul. It was a small town in America, and he comes to my father. Wow, is he a good Baal Koreh? It shows you the clientele. That's a fundamental machlokas. That's a machlokas. So you have over here a machlokas. But the main point I want to illustrate, and this applies all through the Gemara. Whenever you see a name in the Gemara, Rava, Abaye, Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish, nothing they're saying is a result of personality. It has zero to do. He's always, must have had a bad day that day because he was machmer. He was just such a Baal Chesed. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with their understanding of Torah and what Hashem wants. Pure understanding of Torah, what Hashem wants. Okay, we're going to stop here, John. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay.